It started with a missing bracelet. Not just any bracelet. My mother's prized sapphire heirloom, the one she always wore to parties and family events, claiming it was a gift from her grandmother during the war. I hadn't even seen it in months. I'd been living in my small studio apartment across the city, working overtime shifts at a legal aid office, trying to save up to get out of debt. But when I came home one Sunday to visit after 3 months of absence, the atmosphere was already stiff. My mom was cold, my dad barely nodded, and my sister Emily wouldn't even make eye contact. I should have known something was off. They didn't ask how I was doing. They didn't ask if I wanted lunch. They just said, "We need to talk." I followed them to the living room like a student about to be expelled. That's when Mom pulled out her phone and showed a grainy, low-res video from a security camera in the house. A shadowy figure entering her bedroom. The shape was vague, the timestamp was wrong, and it didn't even show the face. But the moment it played, Emily folded her arms and said, "That's definitely her." My stomach dropped. I laughed out of disbelief. "You can't be serious? You think that's me? What am I, a ghost burglar?" But they didn't laugh. Mom's voice cracked. "That bracelet is gone. You were here that weekend." "No, I wasn't," I said, stunned. "I was in D.C. with clients. We had a conference. You can call my office. I have receipts, hotel logs, timestamps." "I don't care," my father cut in. "You always envied your sister. She earned her way. You've been bitter since college." "Are you kidding me right now?" My heart was racing. I put myself through school, took out loans, worked night shifts. Emily had her tuition paid. She got a car on her 18th birthday. I had to share a used bike. But none of it mattered. Suddenly, Dad stood up, eyes furious, and before I could finish the sentence, I felt it, a stinging slap across my cheek, the kind of blow that leaves you blinking in silence. That was the moment the air in the room went silent. Emily gasped, but didn't say anything. My mom just turned her head like nothing happened. I stood there, my palm holding the side of my face. My body was shaking, not just from pain, but from humiliation. "You stole from your own family," he spat. "You're not welcome here anymore." No one defended me. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I went back to my apartment, sat on the floor, and stared at the wall. I wasn't just hurt. I was done. Done trying to prove myself to people who never saw me. Done being the scapegoat. And that's when I opened my laptop and logged into the shared financial tool I'd built for them 4 years ago. The one I created when Dad retired and asked for my help setting up digital convenience for his and Mom's accounts. I still had administrative access. I wasn't petty. I was precise. Within minutes, every card was frozen. Every automated bill halted. Their utilities? Interrupted. Their mortgage payment? Delayed. Their credit line? Suspended pending fraud verification. Then I sat back and watched. By the next morning, my mother was calling, texting, leaving voicemails in a tone I hadn't heard since childhood, the tone she used when she needed something. But I didn't answer. I had another plan in motion. I had called the police department anonymously and suggested they pull the footage again, this time with an expert. I offered, under oath, to present my alibi with time-stamped GPS logs and expense reports. And then I reached out to an old friend from law school, now a prosecutor, and told him what had happened. They didn't know I was coming for the truth, and when it hit them, it would be in court, not in whispers. 2 days passed before they truly realized what I'd done. I knew the exact moment it happened. My phone lit up with a blocked number. I didn't answer. Then Emily called, not from her usual contact, but through a random local number. I picked up just out of curiosity. Her voice was panicked. "Can you please fix Mom and Dad's accounts? Their cards aren't working. The bank says the activity was flagged. They're freaking out." I kept my voice cold. "Tell them the thief must have tampered with them. They should call the police. Isn't that what you all think I am?" "Look," she said sharply, "maybe it was a misunderstanding, but you're acting insane now. They could lose their house." "Funny," I whispered. "I already lost my family." And I hung up. That evening, a letter arrived at my apartment. Not a text, not a voicemail. A physical hand-delivered envelope, cream-colored, elegant. I recognized the handwriting. It was an invitation to a private family arbitration. Apparently, they thought dragging me into a civil solution was better than facing actual charges. They wanted me to come to a meeting at the community center where they'd gathered other family members, people who hadn't seen me in years, to resolve the conflict quietly. I showed up. Not for reconciliation, but because I had evidence. The room was tense, like a funeral with forced politeness. My father was there, sitting at the center like some fallen patriarch, with Mom beside him pretending to be the devastated matriarch. Emily sat off to the side, scrolling through her phone like this was just an inconvenience. A retired judge moderated the session. She asked us all to speak calmly and honestly. That's when my father stood. "We've always supported our daughter," he began with fake grace. "But recently she's changed. We believe she may have taken something from us, a family heirloom, and when confronted, she lashed out by disrupting our accounts." The judge turned to me. "Do you have anything to say?" I stood slowly, reached into my bag, and pulled out a USB drive. "I didn't steal your bracelet," I said, projecting every syllable. "But someone else in this room did, and I can prove it." My mom narrowed her eyes. "You really expect us to believe?" "I was in Washington, D.C. the weekend of the alleged theft. Here are my plane tickets, hotel check-ins, and receipts." I passed them to the judge. "Also, I sent the surveillance footage from your home to an enhancement lab." I clicked the remote and the screen behind us lit up. Clear as day, a figure creeping into Mom's bedroom. It wasn't me. It was Emily. She wore one of my old sweatshirts, her hair pulled back under a beanie to hide her face. But the gait, the nail polish, the phone in her hand, it was unmistakably her. The footage even caught her slipping something into her purse. The room was silent. The judge turned to my sister. "Do you deny this?" Emily's face flushed. "It was a prank. I was going to give it back." Mom gasped. "You told us she did it!" Emily's voice cracked. "You always said she was jealous. I thought you'd believe it." Dad stood slowly. "You lied to us?" "No," I snapped. "You all chose to believe it. You chose to slap me. You chose to throw me out without evidence." The judge leaned back. "Well, this changes everything. Not only is your daughter innocent, but she was slandered and assaulted." Then I handed over one more document, notarized. A lawsuit for defamation, emotional distress, and assault, filed that morning. All their accounts were frozen under court order, not just by me, but through legal injunction for pending investigation. You could feel the air get sucked out of the room. My mother trembled. "You did all this?" I nodded. "You wanted to destroy my reputation. I decided to protect it and expose yours." The court date arrived faster than any of them expected. I had hoped somewhere deep down that maybe they'd apologize, try to settle quietly, show some remorse. But they didn't. My father doubled down. He walked into the courtroom in his navy blue suit, jaw set like stone, as if this was all beneath him. My mother clung to her pearls like a martyr, while Emily wore black like she was attending her own funeral, though, in a way, she was. The courtroom was small, but packed. A few distant cousins sat in the back, whispering behind their hands. A local reporter had even shown up. Apparently, someone tipped them off that a well-known businessman was being sued by his own daughter for defamation and assault. I sat alone at the plaintiff's table, calm, prepared, and more than ready. My lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Dara, began with the facts. She laid out the false accusation, the physical violence at the confrontation, the financial manipulation, and most damning of all, the video of Emily stealing the bracelet and framing me. Emily squirmed in her seat. The judge, an older man with silver-rimmed glasses and an unamused face, watched everything in stony silence. When the video played again, this time zoomed and slowed, he raised a brow. "That's your sister?" he asked. "Yes, Your Honor." "And you were accused of this theft?" "Yes, with no evidence. and assaulted based on that accusation. My father shot up. "Objection! She's twisting everything!" The judge gave him a sharp glare. "Sir, this isn't television. Sit down unless you're called to speak." My mother was next on the stand. She cried, real mascara-streaked tears, as she told the court that she genuinely believed I had taken it. "It broke my heart," she whispered, "but she'd always been difficult, secretive, cold." Dara stood. "Your Honor, is it possible that Mrs. Wallace's opinion of her daughter had less to do with actual theft and more to do with years of personal resentment?" "Objection!" Dad growled. "Sustained," the judge muttered, "but noted." Then it was Emily's turn. And here's where it happened, the twist that no one, not even I, saw coming. As she sat there, pale, hands trembling, voice thin, she suddenly cracked. Mid-question, she blurted out. It wasn't even about the bracelet. They were going to leave her nothing in the will. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Emily continued, tears spilling. Mom and Dad had planned it for years. They said she was ungrateful, that she didn't fit the family image. They only accused her so she wouldn't contest the inheritance. I blinked. The judge's eyes narrowed. "You realize you just admitted your parents conspired to cut your sister out of her rightful estate and tried to cover it by framing her for a crime?" Emily nodded numbly. "I didn't know it would go this far. I just wanted them to stop comparing us." The courtroom went silent. Even Dara was stunned for a moment before recovering with a single, satisfying statement. Nothing further. The verdict came down swiftly. My parents were found liable for defamation and assault. They were ordered to pay damages, 6 figures worth. Emily was charged with criminal mischief and false accusation, though the judge deferred her sentence pending community service and counseling. But it wasn't about the money. Not really. It was about standing up when everyone else told me to sit down. It was about reclaiming a voice they'd tried to silence since I was a child. And most of all, it was about letting the truth shatter the performance they had crafted for years. A week later, I received the full inheritance papers through a lawyer I'd hired privately months earlier. Documents proving I was listed in my grandfather's estate as the primary beneficiary. My parents had tried to hide them, but it was too late. The damage was already done, to them. I used part of the money to pay off my student loans. Then I made a quiet donation in their name, to a legal aid fund for young women falsely accused by family. And the rest, I bought the house next to theirs. Not to flaunt, but to remind them, every time they saw the lights on at night, who they tried to erase, and who refused to disappear. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching.